Jury is still out on President Obama's $75 billion plan to save struggling homeowners. Among economists and financial experts, opinions are split over whether this plan will really work. In the president's plan, there are two basic solutions: helping more homeowners get new low interest rates and incentives for lenders to make mortgages more affordable. So joining me now, real estate analyst Dani Babb, the founder of the Babb Group and the author of The Accidental Landlord. Also John Taylor, president and CEO of the National Community Reinvestment Coalition. John and Dani, thanks to both of you for being with us this morning. So we want to make it easy for people to understand. Let's tick through a couple of the highlights of this plan, and I'd like both of you to weigh in, and we'll start with you, John. First of all, the part that wants to help people who need to find a way to refinance that were previously turned down for this because they no longer had 20% equity, either because of dropping home values or for whatever reasons they owe more than their home is worth.
Right, so this is a very sensible part of the plan. It takes people who are still working, but for the economy and what's happened to housing prices, they're stuck in a mortgage that puts them in jeopardy and perhaps leans them towards foreclosure. And so what the president's done, and I think it's a smart move, is to assist those people to get back into the financial services system by having them access mortgages that are going to be more in line with their property value and with their ability to pay. So that makes a lot of sense. And
Dani, this is interesting because some people would say, wait a minute, I've been on the phone with my bank, I've been on the phone with lenders, I've been trying to make this happen for our household for what seems like months to no avail. What's different now because of this plan?
Well, lenders have been doing mortgage modifications for some time, and those who were unable to get a modification were unable to for several reasons. Either they were upside down, too far upside down on their mortgage, maybe 20 or 30%, or their credit score was simply bad. So in this particular plan, they're able to refinance if they qualify for a Fannie or a Freddie loan. That's the caveat here. So they cannot be a jumbo loan. If they qualify under the Fannie or Freddie plan, then they're able to not renegotiate, but actually refinance their home without having the 20% equity stake.
All right, and this is also interesting, John. Homeowners that are either in some stage of default or they're at risk of defaulting may qualify to have their monthly mortgage payments reduced basically to 31% of their gross income. A couple things about this. How will this work?
Well, it's a combination of lenders, services, the government and the borrower working together to get that down to 31%. So the investor, the servicer that represents those investors or represents the banks would cut interest rates or principal to get it down to 38%. And then the goal really is to get it to 31% of income, that only 31% of a household's income goes towards housing. So what would happen at 38% is the government would share in the cost of reducing that mortgage or the interest rates so that it reaches 31%, 50-50 with the lender.
And Dani, it seems like a sticky situation in how you figure this out. How do you prove income? Who is the agency or the group that's going to be shepherding all of this? Would it be the federal government? Would it be these individual lenders? How do you see that going?
Well, I see it being handled by the federal government, which I think is unfortunate. And to this 31% DTI rule, debt-to-income ratio rule, I think this is a really frightening prospect because this sharing between the government and the banks is actually sharing between those paying their mortgage on time, the taxpayers, and those banks that are actually out there trying to help people. We already know that banks are taking a lot of resources that were on the lending side into the modification side. That's happening already. It's happening in record numbers. And I think we need to keep some standards here with regard to FICO, debt-to-income ratio, and so on, so that we don't have people re-defaulting again, which we are seeing in so many cases.
And quickly, we just have to make it quickly, but people sitting at home saying, wait a minute, this doesn't seem fair to me. I'm also struggling. I'm making my payments and giving up pretty much everything else. Why should other people who are not at risk of foreclosure be on board with this plan? Quickly, John and Dani.
Yeah, well, for one, many of them will be eligible to refinance, but also they're losing their value in their homes as every foreclosure mounts, as more and more people go into distress. Indeed, our entire economy is suffering for it. So we really need to look at this as we're in this together, and the no-brainer things that we ought to do is we need to help those people who are still working get into the kind of mortgage that they're not going to default on.
All right, Dani?
Yeah, they shouldn't be on board with this plan, in my opinion. Yeah. You know, we have to expect that homeowners, if they are going to go with this plan, then we need to demand as taxpayers that they have to put all of their assets on the line when they sign up for the modification, just as a college student has to do when they go and get a student loan. That's the bare minimum. People out there paying their mortgage, they should not be happy with this.
All right, Dani Babb, as well as John Taylor, I appreciate both of your opinions and insight this morning. Thank you.